Bowie State and Albany State make the preseason top 25 D2 rankings. Tuskegee's head coach announces he's stepping down after the season. He hasn't even coached a game yet. And Brandon Olsen from Locked On Gators joins to talk about Tim Brewster's impact on the Florida Gators. Oh yeah, it's Locked On HBCU. Play my music.
You are Locked On HBCU, your daily podcast covering HBCU sports. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's going on, family? Welcome back to another episode of the Locked On HBCU podcast, your number one daily one-stop shop for everything HBCU athletics. Man, I really do enjoy when I give the number one, man. But y'all know who I am. I am Darian Gray, a.k.a. the Mouth of the South, Texas Southern alum and former TSU Herald Sports editor. Thank you for going on this journey with me, making Locked On HBCU your first listen of the day every day. And today's episode is brought to you by BetOnline. They have you covered this season with more odds, props, and lines than ever before. BetOnline, where the game starts. In Albany State, Bowie State have both made the preseason Division II top 25 rankings. Lindy's recently came out with the rankings. It was very in-depth, right? It was more than just saying these teams to this team, this is 1 through 25, and we're done. It was more than just that. See, they came and they had an article. It was like kind of like a magazine-esque, but they had an article about Ferris State's quarterback situation. In their top 25, they had a little note about every single team, not just the top 5, not just the top 10. Every single team had a note about what you can expect, which I thought was great because we're not paying attention to all 25 a lot of the time. So I might not be able to tell you what's up with West Georgia. I might not be able to tell you what's up with Valdosta State. I might not be able to do those things. Yes, we can talk about Albany State. We can talk about Bowie State, but there's going to be people who don't know about them either or what's going on with them. So I appreciated that little detail saying, hey, this is what to expect. This is something or this is the reason that we have them ranked so high. Things of that. It's only one sentence. It's not a whole paragraph about it, but it was a nice little note to know what the publishers and what the writers were thinking. And then in addition to that, you also had an all Division II team. So this is really an in-depth kind of more than just a top 25. This is just a full out preview for what to expect in Division II football. So if you don't, or if you haven't checked it out yet, I suggest that you do if you just love football, right? Go check that out. Now, there was 2 HBCUs that made this list. And you're looking at Albany State, who was a champion in the SEAC, and you had Bowie State, who was the champion in the CIAA. So both of these teams made the playoffs last year, and if everything goes right according to Lindy's, they'll be there again. And just a quick side note about the playoffs, the Division II playoffs specifically, and this may seem like scatterbrain thought, but I'm going to talk about Damon Wilson and some comments he made about his stay at Morgan State or his new job at Morgan State. He said, we're going for the FCS championship, not just a Celebration Bowl. And well, I hate to break it to him. Your big goal is actually the Celebration Bowl. The only problem with the FCS playoffs is, hey, I'm not about to try to be second place in my division just so I can get to the playoffs. No, I'm not doing that. But I felt as if we talked about this enough where I didn't want to make it the actual topic. We've done this recently. It's a playoffs versus Celebration Bowl. Wasn't nothing to really talk about there for me. But I think that the attitude of saying I want the playoffs stems from Bowie State and specifically his success at Bowie State, because you got to remember last year he was very close. Bowie State lost to the runner-ups, Valdosta State. That's how they got knocked out the playoffs. So they are very close to making it to either the championship or even winning one. So that attitude continues with him. That's how I bring this all together. That's why I'm speaking on it, because that attitude, that success that they have gotten, that ain't going anywhere. Bowie State is right now is proposed as the number 7 team in the country. I would be curious to see just how much of an impact that Damon Wilson's departure had. Now, if this, because it came out after the news broke, but it might have been done before, so we don't really know. I'm going to give it a 2 to 3 spot bounce around. So they're right now ranked at number 7. If he had any effect, and his departure would only brought Bowie State down. Let's say with him, that's a top 5 team. Let's say without him and they didn't account for it, they're still a top 10 team. This speaks volumes to how much talent is really on this Bulldog roster. This talent, this roster is good. It's not just coaching, right? Because yes, he's a great coach, but he's not just going to take scrubs to the number 7 team in the nation. That's not how it's going to happen. So they're led by Joshua Pryor. This is a player who this publication believes will be the defensive player of the year this year. He had 20, almost at 2,000. He had 20 tackles for a loss last year, but you're looking at his 2019 tape where he had over 20, I think nearly 25, if not just slightly over 25 tackles for a loss. And then he also had double-digit sacks. You're looking for that kind of year out of him again. You have to remember, this is a player that ranks super high on Gerald Huggins' top 10 players for next year's draft cycle. So Bowie State is going to have them a dog on that defensive line. But he's not the only guy there. Because he's great, yeah, 100%. But he's also going to be joined by Dimitri Marcel, in the secondary. So you're having this is all Division II. This is not just, hey, this is the CIAA, or hey, this is the SEAC. So when you're looking at, you have an offensive lineman on the first team, offensive lineman on the second team. Then you also have a defensive lineman and a secondary member who is joining on the defensive first team for Division II. This is a very stacked defense. With or without Damon Wilson, this is a team that we should be looking out for. Then you have Albany State, who's coming in at 19. And they lost to West Virginia in the first round of the playoffs. West Virginia is also on this list. But I think what is bringing them so high, and something that has people in at least this publication feeling like, oh, this team is somebody who should be watched out for. Because all these teams, regardless even on 1 to 25, are teams we should watch out for. It's the fact that they returned 18 starters, that continuity, that consistency that's coming in from last year. I talked about the attitude of winning. The coach is gone, but the attitude of winning is still there in Bowie State. Well, now you have 18 players coming back and the coach. And this is a coach that was a part of the Legacy Bowl. So you're having a skilled defense, because they were one of the best defenses in the country. You're having continuity and consistency. So you're having players who are present. You're having players who know what it feels like and know they're going to want to get past that because they've been there. They've been to the first round. They ain't been to the second round. They've been to the first round. They want to get to the second round and continue, right? Those are the players that you have, and I love that. If I can have a team that really breaks through and then I get to return a lot of people, now I feel like we broke through the last season. Let's continue to level up. And that's what you have right here. And I'm kind of surprised that there was no first team defenders on this squad. It means nothing. It really doesn't, because you look at Ferris State, look at Valdosta State. They're the two teams who made it to the championship last year. They have one first team player on offense or defense apiece. It's only one first teamer on Valdosta, only one first teamer on Ferris. This really don't mean anything. If we're just gonna be honest, it does not really mean much. This isn't basketball. I won't try to meld the two and try to make comparisons or anything, but this is not basketball. This is team sport at its finest. So that's what I love about football. Yeah, okay, you don't have any first team, quote unquote, studs if you're not watching. These are air quotes, but it don't matter because it's all about, as a unit, how do you work together? They worked pretty well together last year, and they're returning a lot of those pieces. So we'll see what they can do in this upcoming season. But you have Bowie State at number 7, and you have Albany State at number 19 in Lindy's top 25 Division II preseason rankings. Going forward, we're going to be talking about Tuskegee head coach Reginald Ruffin, because I'm only going to be able to call him that for a year. He's already announced that he's stepping down at the end of the season. He just got there. And that's what's confusing me. But let's talk about that and more when we come back with Locked On HBCU. But before that, I want to tell you about BetOnline, because BetOnline is the best place for all of your sports wagering. It's not even NBA playoff season. We're here. We're at the big culmination. We're looking at the NBA Finals. Game 2 is coming up. Who you got? You got the Celtics. You got the Warriors. Did you enjoy game 1? I thought it was a pretty good game myself. So I did enjoy it. Put your money down. How many three-pointers is Steph going to make? What kind of numbers are we expecting out of Jason Tatum? Because that Boston Celtics team has no finals experience. They all have one game apiece, and that was game 1. Who you got in the series? Who you got in game 2? Let us know on betonline.net. Put your money where your mouth is, and the only place to do that is at BetOnline, because they are the fastest and the easiest. What a wager on all of your favorite sports? BetOnline where the game starts. All right, so keep on rolling on today's episode of Locked On HBCU. Thank you for making us your first listen of the day, every day making us part of your daily routine. And I have a favor to ask of you. I want you to tell me what you like and what you don't like about the show. This goes for all of our Locked On network shows. I want to hear your input. Here's your chance. Go to lockedon.com, lockedonpodcast.com/survey right now to get started. And it won't take long. It'll be really quick. But you also get the chance to win one of the 10 $100 Ticketmaster gift cards. Get that, go to an event for you, maybe your family, or maybe go to multiple events for yourself. I ain't judging. Just make sure that you let us know what you like, what you don't like, and get a chance to win a little extra money as well. Today's word of the day is meld. It means to blend or mix together. I want to talk about Tuskegee because Tuskegee's head football coach has already announced that he's retiring after the season. And if you're caught off guard by this news, just know that you're not alone. I'm right there with you. I'm caught off guard too. This was absolutely surprising to me because he just got there. You got to remember, Reginald Ruffin was hired in the end of December. So we're talking about nearly a 2022 hiring. He's been there for less than 6 months at this point. And he's already announcing his retirement. I was stunned. Now, he came from 10 years at Miles College. 10 years as a head coach, it can take a toll on you. I will completely understand how somebody would say, you know what, I've been in the game 10 years, I'm going to retire. 11 years, I'm going to retire, because he's announcing that he's retiring after this season. But it doesn't quite make sense why he accepted the job, because retirements don't happen overnight. Now, I'm not in the man's thought process. I ain't calling him out for nothing, because I don't know what's going on. I don't know the reasoning behind his retirement. All I know is that he's saying I'm stepping down at the end of the season, and Aaron James is going to be replacing me. Now, like I said, retirements do not happen overnight. They are thought out, they're planned, and typically it's a bunch of no before I finally say yes. Am I ready to hang it up? No. Am I ready to hang it up? No. Am I done? Nah, not yet. Am I finished? Yeah, I guess so. So when you're having those questions, I wonder if maybe Ruffin just wanted to go to Tuskegee. That was something that he knew he wanted to do. And now he's finally having a chance to do it. So he wanted to do that for a year. I don't know. But what I do know is that recently he has called out Nick Saban. He got death threats over that. I pray that that's not what it is. I thought the death threats over is way too far. You can be upset that he said whatever. You really shouldn't be upset. He didn't really say anything to be upset about if you're a fan, but neither here nor there. If we're just being honest, he didn't say nothing wrong. He didn't call out, just say, hey, Nick, play HBCUs. If that has you up in arms and has you doing death threats, you got to reevaluate yourself. I understand that none of those people are listening to this podcast right now. I understand that. So it's whatever. I'm not even going to go further on it. But I hope the death threats isn't what made him say, hey, I want to be a less visible role at Tuskegee. I hope not. I can't think of what it is. I don't understand why you would even show interest in a job, understanding that retirement is on the table. Maybe this hit recently. Maybe there's something going on with him personally that happened within the time of being hired. I'm not here to judge. I'm here to say that I don't quite understand. But I know that he's called out he's called out Nick Saban. He's said a plan to generate a $1.5 million for Alabama HBCUs on the FCS level. And he's also said, hey, Tuskegee's moving up. He's done all of that. This man has got a job. This man has called out Nick Saban. He said, I got money on the way. I got a plan to generate all of his $1.5 million. And oh yeah, I said us because I'm coming up to the FCS level as well. He did all of this and didn't even coach a game yet. Not to mention, then he announced that he'll be retiring. That's a career. That is a career. You called out arguably the greatest head coach in college football history, right? You're looking at 1-2. There's two of them, show my love to Eddie Robinson. But you're looking at one of the greatest to ever do it, the greatest in my lifetime. I'll say that, right? You got the greatest head coach of my generation, called him out. You said, hey, man, I got $1.5 million if we can execute this plan. Okay. And you said I'm moving up to HBCU. Moving up to FCS. That is a full career. But he did that in a matter of less than half a year. So he did a lot. But I know this was coming up. I know this wasn't a surprise because he already said that Aaron James is going to be the coach. So I highly doubt it'll be an interim title. He will be the coach. And now it allows him to move into an athletic director position. So with Ruffin in the athletic director position, he'll still be able to charge the idea of Tuskegee moving up to the FCS level or, D1 level in the basketball and everything. So it all comes with it. He'll be involved with the football team for sure. He just won't be the face of the football team anymore. So he'll still be at Tuskegee. He'll still be doing everything. He'll still be operating just on a higher level. He'll be the athletic director as opposed to being an athletic director in football. Maybe he realized that, hey, I can make more change as an AD. Maybe I can spearhead some more things as the AD. And if I focus all of my attention on being the AD, then I can really do some damage. Maybe that's what happened. We'll see. But either way, Reginald Ruffin is calling it quits after this season. Aaron James will be the new Tuskegee head coach going into 2023-24. But this ain't the last. This is the last ride. But he said he ain't taking no butt whoopings on this one. This is the last dance, Michael Jordan style. And that's what Reginald Ruffin wants his last year to be remembered as. So we'll see if it goes down that way. But as we continue with the show, I have Brandon Olsen coming on the show. He hosts Locked On Gators on the Locked On Podcast Network. We're going to be talking about Tim Brewster. What impact did we see with him, with Kyle Pitts? What impact did we see with him just as a man and also with other tight ends in Gainesville? We'll talk about that and more going forward on Locked On HBCU. All right, so wrapping up today's episode of Locked On HBCU. We got Brandon Olsen coming on. And when I tell you, this guy is a fool. This guy is the funniest guy in the group chat. I kid you not. Never met him before. But this is the funniest guy in the Locked On group chat. In the most loving way. This guy got some issues. But let's hear what he has to say about Tim Brewster and his history at University of Florida. All right, Brandon, I have to ask you, what is your personal experience with the former University of Florida tight ends coach, Tim Brewster?
I love Tim Brewster. I have nothing but good things to say about him. He's someone who, when Billy Napier took over as the new head coach of Florida, because we know that Dan Mullen last season didn't go well, to say the least, but we know that when Billy Napier took over, most of the staff was gone immediately. There were a few coaches where he was like, well, we'll see what happens. And Tim Brewster was one of those few coaches where Billy Napier at least considered keeping on staff. The other one was really like Christian Robinson, who's now with Auburn as a linebackers coach. But Tim Brewster was one of the few coaches that Billy Napier considered keeping, especially when he's like, well, the players love Tim Brewster. When Tim Brewster left, pretty much every tight end had a post on Instagram or Twitter about him, just thanking him for everything he's done. And I mean, his reputation and his resume speak for themselves. So Tim Brewster's someone that, I mean, he's a fantastic coach in my opinion.
When you look at the X's and O's side of it, what does he bring to the table? Because you said Billy Napier, he was, first off, phenomenal hiring, right? So congratulations, because I really think you guys got one there. Did a phenomenal job at Lafayette or Louisiana now, whatever. But he did a great job, so y'all got him one there. But what was it about Tim Brewster on the field that made Napier say, you know what, I think we might have to keep this guy, even though he decided not to?
I think you have to look at just his resume of what he's done with tight ends that he got to work with. You know, he had Kyle Pitts for the last year, and obviously Kyle Pitts was still Kyle Pitts, and he was still going to be a high draft pick either way. But he kind of helped him become less of that wide receiver, that X receiver that people like to call him, and more of an actual tight end. Kyle Pitts played in line more than people gave him credit for, more than people gave Dan Mullen or Tim Brewster credit for. And he was a better blocker. Not great, but a better blocker than people give him credit for. And a lot of that is Tim Brewster. And then you look at Tim Brewster's, I guess his crown jewel, his crowning achievement, was all the way back in 2003. He was with at the time, San Diego Chargers. And he took this basketball player that no one really thought could be a very good tight end in the NFL in 2003. And he was a rookie, and his name was Antonio Gates. And then in 2004, in his second year, Tim Brewster helped turn Antonio Gates into a first-team All-Pro and Pro Bowl tight end, and he's credited with speeding up that development more than it would have happened. Because of course we know Antonio Gates, fantastic athlete, but he became a legitimate all-time great tight end primarily because of Tim Brewster's coaching.
And I think you said something that was extremely important and should be distinguished. A lot of times when we talk about these players, it's, oh, he was going to be great anyway. Kyle Pitts was going to be a first-round pick. Antonio Gates was going to be a great player. But as a coach, it's about speeding up that development. And I thought that was a phenomenal point. I want to hone in on Kyle Pitts because it was more recent. When you look at the difference between Kyle Pitts' sophomore year and Kyle Pitts' junior year, which we talked about on the last episode, outside of just the stats, where was the biggest improvement that you saw in this game that was due to Brewster?
I think it was his blocking, because when you look at Kyle Pitts, also just dating back to way back when he was in high school, Kyle Pitts was a quarterback at the start of his high school career, and then he moved to tight end and went to Florida, and he was someone who people were like, yeah, he's a great athlete, he's a tall player, he's long, his arms insanely long, but he was still just he was a quarterback moving to tight end. He was this incredibly raw prospect that
Right.
Tim Brewster helped develop as that blocker that picked up so much, especially when you look at a Florida Gators team where that year, that 2020 season, their run blocking was nothing short of atrocious. And Kyle Pitts was at least helpful there for a team that, yeah, they wanted to throw the ball, but he was at least helpful for when they wanted to bust that run out wide and get things going with guys like LaMichael P. Ryan, Damian Pierce, Malik Davis, Naquan Wright, all these talented running backs, at least in my opinion, that they just couldn't get going because the offensive line never gave them a chance. Kyle Pitts, when he was asked to pass protect, or when he was asked to run block, did a fantastic job for what you'd expect from a guy where we go, yeah, he plays wide receiver and he plays slot receiver and he lines up occasionally at tight end, but he lined up at tight end more, and he was like I said before, much better run blocker than people gave him credit for. And I think we can kind of credit that with Tim Brewster, or to Tim Brewster. And I also think one thing we can credit Tim Brewster for was that see ball, get ball mentality of Kyle Pitts, where you look at Antonio Gates, he's a basketball player. He can make all these big time catches and contested catches. And I think Tim Brewster has made a career of developing these big athletes and helping them kind of unlock that next level of, well, guess what? If someone is in your airspace, you come down with that ball no matter what. And we look at Antonio Gates, we look at Kyle Pitts, and you could say, well, Tim Brewster helped make those tight ends who they became to be. And I mean, Kyle Pitts became the highest drafted tight end in NFL history, and that is no mistake.
I think there was another thing that you said outside of just the development, because that's great. We want to develop talent. We have some young guys at Jackson State that Brewster will be coming in to help. But then you also said run blocking, and that was something that was big. They have committed themselves to running the ball more at Jackson State. So that is something else that Jackson State fans should be looking out for with Brewster. Outside of Pitts, you said all the tight ends loved them. They all gave big notes on Instagram and Twitter and all of that. What work, or I guess other than Kyle Pitts, who's the player who you would showcase to say this is an example of Brewster's development?
I think you can look at Keon Zipper this coming season for the Florida Gators and Jonathan Odom this coming season, where they were both guys when they came in. It was just like, whatever, they're depth guys. Keon Zipper probably going to be a starter. Jonathan Odom, probably the best blocking tight end around here. And Jonathan Odom specifically was a player that really, he made it a point to go, thank you so much, Coach Brewster, for everything you did for us and all the help. And I think that can't go overlooked with what you will see from Jonathan Odom and Keon Zipper this year, at least on the run blocking front.
Right. So when I introduced you before you came on the show, I called you the funniest guy in the group chat because, man, you're ridiculous. So I say this with the utmost love and the utmost respect. What is wrong with you? Like, what is
so much, man. Just so much. There is a lot going on. Even our boss, David Locke, I joined a meeting 2 weeks ago, and once he saw my name pop up, he goes, Brandon, I wish that you could put like instigator on your resume. He's like, because if you could get a job doing that, you would get it. And I like to think myself as like the Mark Phillips meme when it's like instigator. You see the guy stretch. That's me. That's all I'm trying to do. I'm just trying to talk trash.
Well, I'm a big Saints fan. You're a Florida guy. One could call you the Chauncey Gardner-Johnson or CD Deuce of podcasting.
I love that because I love, everybody knows I love, my listeners hate him. Like some of my listeners are like, man, he is such a trash talker, because a lot of them are Bucks fans, and they're like, man, we hate him. And I'm just like, you know what? I hate you. How about that? How about that? I love Chauncey.
No, I love Chauncey. That's my guy. So there we go. The Mouth of the South and the Chauncey Gardner-Johnson of podcasting together. Before we get you out of here, can I get one play my music? Can I get a play my music for me, please?
I got to sing it for you a little bit.
Yeah, come on, man. Ross set a high bar. He set a high bar.
Ross set a high bar?
Yeah, he did. He
Oh,
did.
I'm gonna suck at this then. I'm sorry. You know, there's something different about me and Ross here when we when we try to do it. That's gonna look a little worse. But I'll give you a little something. I'll play my music. Is that good? Is that good or did that suck? I don't know, man.
Hey, different flavors, man.
I
Different.
said we don't have rhythm on this side. I'll let you know. I'll let you know that one.
That's it. That's it, man. Brandon, I appreciate you coming on. Make sure that you guys are checking out Locked On Gators because if y'all know Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, you know he's an entertainer. This guy's an entertainer himself. I appreciate you coming on, my guy.
Thanks, Aaron.
I appreciate Brandon coming on the show and giving us some of his opinions on Tim Brewster and his history as far as helping Kyle Pitts, helping Antonio Gates, helping some of the other tight ends in Gainesville as well. And also, I appreciate his honesty when I asked him, hey, man, what's wrong with you? I told you this guy's a fool, man. But it's all love. So I appreciate him. Make sure you guys are checking out Locked On Gators. I'm going to tell you that again. And it's the end of the week. It's the end of the week. We'll be back on Monday. We'll be talking about the HBCU showcase in North Carolina A&T, Texas Southern basketball programs. We'll be taking part of that in December in Vegas. We'll have more information on that Monday. So continue making us your first listen of the day every day. And make sure you're listening to Locked On NBA Big Boards for your second listen of the day. Rafael Barlow and the gang will have so much information on the NBA draft cycle, NBA mock drafts, and also the NBA Big Boards, obviously, right? But in the meantime, in between time, if you're looking for me, you can find me on Twitter at South Exclusives. Until the next time that we hear each other, family, take care, stay blessed. Peace.